Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Is LeBron James dropping clues, dropping hints that he wants to leave the Lakers? Also, does the Major League Baseball All-Star Game need to be fixed? And the Chargers, not the Chiefs, will win the AFC West.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
I guess we've reached the LeBron James or someone in his camp makes a passive-aggressive comment about the front office and his team portion of the NBA offseason. Andy Kamenetsky from Locked On Lakers is going to join us to try and parse through some of this. And Andy, this started, well, we can debate when it started, but this latest news cycle started when Rich Paul put out a statement about LeBron James's feelings on the offseason moves. Less than enthused. He wants to compete for a championship. It doesn't seem like he thinks the Lakers are in a position to do that right now. And that led to some speculation about his future in LA. How fair is that speculation to you right now?
I don't know if fair is the word that I would use, just because there's a lot that still could come from this in terms of how fair is the speculation. I think it is fair for people to be reading into this stuff simply because it's very clearly what LeBron and Rich Paul want people to do. Like they want this conversation to be taking place. LeBron has left a few, as I like to say, passive aggressive social media posts, making it clear he's in Cleveland. He's working out at the Cavs facility. I don't remember if the hat said like welcome home or back home or something like that. Allie Clifton, one of the Spectrum Sportsnet anchors, the TV affiliate for the Lakers, who's also an Ohio native. She covered LeBron while he was in Cleveland. She was, I want to say maybe vacationing somewhere, but she was wearing a Cavs jersey. It looked like maybe on like a pontoon float or something like that. That looked like there was water in the background, but that part's not even that important. But she's wearing the jersey, and LeBron commented on her post, proper attire. And then LeBron also commented on social media that every 4th of July, every time, at this time of year, he goes back to Cleveland. This is nothing unusual, which is true, except you don't have to post this, particularly at a time when people are talking about it. So is it fair to speculate because of all this stuff that LeBron wants out? Not necessarily. Is it fair to speculate that he's seriously unhappy? Not necessarily. It is 100% fair to speculate that he wants this conversation to take place.
Because to your point, he does. Like whether or not he actually wants out or is going to demand to be traded or any of those things, this is clearly part of the point here. And that is always the point with the passive aggressive. I'm going to borrow your terminology here. And that's kind of the deal with LeBron James. We've heard, I think, for at least those of us who have been trying to pay close attention to this, I'm sure you've been talking about it on Locked On Lakers, any trade such that there would be an appetite for one has become more difficult by the new CBA, the rules there, and LeBron opting into $50+ million of salary, which if he wanted to go somewhere else, by the way, he didn't have to do.
I mean, the truth is LeBron has very little leverage in this in terms of whatever the end game is, unless the end game is just play his best season possible for 25-26 with the Lakers and then figure out what happens then when he's unrestricted free agent. But beyond that, once he opted into this, he really gave up, I'd say, close to, if not all, the leverage that he has, because even if he demanded a trade, like you mentioned, trading him is much easier said than done. And the complications of it are extremely high. The idea of a buyout, which I know some people have speculated that's what he wants, at least for the time being, would be absolutely ridiculous for the Lakers to even consider. There's absolutely nothing in it for them to just let LeBron walk, go to a different team, and have $40 to $50 million in dead cap. for this season. It doesn't help them at all. If maybe a few months into the season, for whatever reason, the Lakers are scuffling, it's clear that they're not going anywhere. At that point, not only would I consider, forget a buyout for the Lakers, if LeBron wanted it, I would just waive him. And then at that point, he gets to keep all of his money. He gets to go wherever he wants. The Lakers will be able to say they did right by him. And I think this thing can be copacetic. But for the time being, there's not really much LeBron can do in terms of pressure or anything like that for against the Lakers, assuming they're just willing to ride out some periods of discomfort if it comes to that.
Let's say this is just leverage insofar as LeBron would like to see the Lakers do something else. This is him poking them with the stick and saying, do something. Yep. What is out there to do for them?
Honestly, not a ton. I think because otherwise they probably would have done it just to be better this season anyway, right, regardless of LeBron's feelings, because you have a team that won 50 games last year. They have Luka Doncic in his prime. Obviously, the devil's in the details, but there's no reason to not try to be better for this season if you can. But the problem is the Lakers don't really have much cap space anymore after they brought in DeAndre Ayton and Jake LaRavia. Both, I think, are very good signings for the Lakers, particularly at the price point. Jackson Hayes retained. Like, they don't really have much in the way of cap space that's significant. They don't have a ton of, I think, coveted trade assets. Rui Hachimura is the only expiring contract I think they have that would have any value as an actual player, as opposed to Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber, who would be expirings. You know, Dalton Knecht probably has some value, but I don't think he's somebody that other teams are going to trip over themselves to acquire. They have the one first-round pick that they can trade, and even somebody like Austin Reeves, who I think in a vacuum would have value around the league. He's in a walk year, and he's not going to sign an extension with anybody, including the Lakers, this offseason, because financially it makes no sense. So there's only so much teams are going to give up for Reeves anyway, just because he might leave them. So the Lakers, I think, can try to make some moves, and I'm sure that they will. But the truth is they're not steeped in a lot of different routes to make this stuff happen, regardless of what LeBron wants.
You can stay up to date all year on the LA Lakers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Lakers on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game needs to be fixed. Yeah, we all know. Before we get to that, Kirk Cousins got Wally pipped, and he did not, in fact, like that. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Look, they're saving you money already. You've heard of the idea of getting Wally pipped, but Kirk Cousins has lived it. The Falcons quarterback admitted in Netflix quarterback series that he may have never left the Minnesota Vikings had he known the Atlanta Falcons would draft Michael Penix Jr. with the number 8 overall pick after handing him $100 million. So, no one's going to feel too bad for Kirko here. Cousins said he felt a little bit misled, but kept playing through a shoulder injury to avoid giving Penix a chance. Eventually, Cousins was benched and Penix took over. Cousins is still on the roster for now, and that money is fully guaranteed, so he's going to get it either way. But that makes all of this even more confusing. Why sign an old franchise quarterback if you want to draft a young one? I don't get it. Over in Major League Baseball, the Yankees look to finally wake up with a home game against the Mariners.
Yankees start off the series against Seattle with a dominant and refreshing victory. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees. 10 runs, 10-3 victory in Game 1 against Seattle. But the storyline coming into this game was the defense, as Aaron Boone announced that Jazz Chisholm Jr. would go back to the position he's been preparing for at second base, which now means the Yankees are routinely going to field their best infield of the season with Jazz at second base and Peraza at third base. This was huge. It was the storyline coming into the game, but the offense went up in the storyline after the game. You got a home run from Judge, you got a home run from Stanton, you got 3 hits out of Cody Bellinger. It was an all-around great performance from the Yankees and a really solid way to start off a series when you have a rookie pitching tomorrow.
And the Mets started a 6-game road stretch off with a win over the Orioles.
The New York Mets have a very simple offensive philosophy right now. The big four of their offense do stuff, they win. They don't do stuff, they lose. The big four combined for 6 of the 7 Mets runs, 8 of the 11 Mets hits. It was Lindor and Alonso with their 2-run homers in the 8th inning to spark a rally to tie things up at 6. And it was Juan Soto delivering the go-ahead hit in extras as the Mets beat the Orioles 7-6 in the opener of this series. The biggest comeback so far this season for the New York Mets. 5-4 this season in extra inning games. And so even though the bottom of the lineup, Ronnie Mauricio did hit a home run, Brett Beatty with 2 hits, didn't do a whole lot, it's the top 4, the big 4 of the New York Mets lineup that is carrying the load.
Yesterday, we talked to our pal Sully from Locked On MLB about the new blood in the All-Star Game. And that's exciting for baseball. But the All-Star Game could be made better. And Sully has some theories on how.
So that, so I believe we should. I mean, I've said this before. I think we should start the season with the All-Star Game. The All-Star Game should be the opening ceremony of the season. That there's some that are automatic entries. Cy Young, the top 3 Cy Young, the Cy Young finalists, the MVP finalists, the Rookie of the Year finalists, the World Series MVP. These are people who are automatically put in. Every team is represented, and it's based upon the full stats of the previous year. And that's how you start the season. Now, and now the midway point of the season, that's when you go have a game in Japan. That's when you have like a mid-season, like big celebration somewhere else. That's when you do your Field of Dreams game or whatever. But you start the season with all the stars coming out, and it's a big event instead of, it starting with shh. Don't wake up the kids. The baseball season's starting in Tokyo. Have a big celebration to start the season with a bang with all the big stars. And that way you also get the full season of stats to judge someone by. I've been saying that for a while. And I also think there should be a rule that when you get down to the final 2 in a vote, the leading vote getters, like this year, I believe it was Ohtani and Judge. They play 9. They got, they're in the lineup the whole game because, by the end, like, look I'm not gonna try to besmirch someone, but if this All-Star Game goes to extra innings and the final moments are going to be, Jonathan Aranda facing off againt, I'm trying to think of
this is always my biggest pet peeve with the All-Star Game because you get so excited in the first inning. Oh, it's the best pitcher in baseball against the best hitter, and it's like, okay, but then in the 9th inning, the game is ultimately decided by Corey Hart having to throw, make the throw to the plate, and it's like, what are we talking about here?
And that
was a very timely reference for me in the mid 2000s, but like that has never made sense to me, and I don't know how you fix it.
Well, I think first of all, you have it be the leading vote getters play 9. For the person who wins the fan vote starts, and the second place one comes in the 8th or 9th. We have players on the field who are the elite players on there. The starting pitcher has to face the starting 9. It's always a big deal who starts the All-Star Game, and then they face 3 batters. And then it's over. We don't even get to see the pitcher. There's a much larger than 0 chance for all the talk about who's the starting pitcher of the All-Star Game that by the time they get to the number 6 batter and the other 2, that someone else has come in. the best part of the All-Star game is when they all line up and they tip their hat. I mean, it is. That's my favorite part of it. It's the pageantry of it. Here are your All-Stars. When I go on YouTube, and believe me, I do, and I look at past All-Star games, I don't ever watch the game. Who gives a crap about the game? Unless it's Bo Jackson's home run and Ronald Reagan. Oh, well, it looks like Bo hit a home run there. But, other than that, who cares? Who cares? Unless unless you really don't like Atlee Hammaker and you want to watch Fred Lynn hit that grand slam off of him. I can't think of an All-Star game highlight I would watch over and over again. But I love watching the lineup and everything go there. And thank goodness they're correcting another thing is they're wearing the freaking uniforms. They're not wearing the American League and National League uniforms. A lot of times I watched the All-Star game last year. I didn't know who was pitching and I didn't know who was up. Jared Durant of my Red Sox hit a home run. I didn't realize it was Jared Durant until he was circling the bases. That was part of the fun thing growing up when I would say, hey, there's Jim Rice. Hey, there's Wade Boggs. Hey, there's Bruce Hurst, whatever player. I got excited when Rich Gedman, because, there's a Red Sox. There's Rich Gedman got in there. And you see your team with their uni on. A few years ago, the Rockies had only one positive thing happen the entire series. That was when the Diaz hit the home run in the All-Star game, and he wasn't even wearing a freaking Rockies jersey. So thank goodness they corrected that. It's a simple thing, but it's one of the fun things when you watch an All-Star game and seeing all the different uniforms.
Coming up, the Chargers are going to win the AFC West. For far too long, the LA Chargers have played second, third, or even fourth fiddle in their own division. In fact, doing anything of significance has been a bit of a struggle, but no more. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland breaks down why the Chargers will overtake the Chiefs in the AFC West.
Listen, I'm with it. Now, the question, I think, if we look at their biggest question, is did they do enough? Did they add enough talent to the offense to kind of make them take that next step? Lauren, when you look at what they've done, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, they have added, but I'm not sure that it's moving the needle a ton for me when I think about the weapons in particular, right? Like, you bring back Mike Williams, that doesn't really do much for me. And then I like Trey Harris as a second-round pick, but is a second-round pick, a wide receiver, going to be enough there? I mean, you hope Lad McConkey takes another step forward. I like Mekhi Becton on the offensive line, but like Tyler Conklin at tight end I don't know that he's moving the needle a lot for me. And you replace J.K. Dobbins with a Marion Hampton, like, good player, and Najee Harris, but like, running back wasn't necessarily the problem for them either. So I'm trying to see where they move the needle other than what you mentioned at the top, like the system and time on task, everybody working together a little bit longer makes everyone better under Jim Harbaugh's leadership.
See, I do agree with you to a point on some of these places, but like, to me, Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton is way better than Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. So I think you look at that, that's a clear upgrade. I think you look at the wide receiver position, and a lot of it is going to ride on Trey Harris. Like, they took Trey Harris in the second round. To me, he was a wide receiver out of Ole Miss who needs development. A lot of these skill position guys coming out of Ole Miss aren't really refined players just because of the style of offense that Lane Kiffin is running. So can Trey Harris, who's a big physical player with great physical gifts, speed, size, all that, can he refine his game quick enough to make an impact, to make that big jump? I think in theory, they wouldn't want Mike Williams to have to be one of their top three wide receivers, consistent three. He's kind of a placeholder to see if Trey Harris is going to break out. But that is a big question. And I think, that's the big question, but I don't know if we have a great answer to whether that'd be enough. It's kind of something that you got to watch. But one thing that gives me a lot of confidence in the Chargers, especially on offense, is just, I think they're going to have an incredible offensive line once again.
Justin Herbert's really good. I think Jim Harbaugh's a good coach. I think Jesse Minter's a really good defensive coordinator. They just don't have the horses to take on the Chiefs. I can't take Herbert, Harbaugh, and that team still has plenty of question marks on offense with the skill position, the pass catchers, a talent question on defense against Patrick Mahomes, against Andy Reid. You're welcome to. You want to take plus odds or whatever it is, go hit up our friends at FanDuel and go do that. And enjoy lighting your money on fire, because the Chiefs are going to win the division again. They are. And why would you think anything different was really going to happen? And finally, if you don't already feel old, Here's a bit of fun college football recruiting news. Devin Fitzgerald, son of NFL great Larry Fitzgerald, has committed to play college ball at Notre Dame. Even better, 4-star linebacker Thomas Davis Jr., the son of former All-Pro Thomas Davis Sr., has been committed to the Irish since November. Even better, 4-star wide receiver Caden Finley, son of former Packers tight end Jermichael Finley, also committed to Notre Dame last week. We're all starting to feel like that one gif of Matt Damon rapidly aging. Or at least I do. At least I do. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up is a changing of the guard coming in college football. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.